You say you want to be free, but freedom isn't soft. It doesn't arrive dressed in peace and comfort. It arrives clawing through your skin, dragging up everything you buried to survive. You think you're awake, but are you? Or are you just performing aliveness in a world that rewards the asleep? You smile, you nod, you function, but deep down, something aches, something unnamed, something ancient. You avoid the silence because it whispers the truth. You drown yourself in noise, in plans, in people, because the moment you're alone, the pain begins to breathe again. But what if that pain isn't punishment? What if it's a key, and you're still trying to wake up without bleeding, still trying to evolve without sacrificing the version of you that was never real? You want liberation, but you haven't earned it yet. Because before you are free, you must suffer. Let me show you why. Carl Jung didn't sugarcoat the path to wholeness. He didn't promise light without shadows or peace without the storm. He gave us the hard truth. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. That darkness, your darkness, is not your enemy. It's your origin. It holds the parts of you you've disowned, rejected, abandoned. The grief you never let yourself feel, the rage you swallowed to keep the peace, the truths you buried to be loved. You think healing is becoming something new. But Jung would tell you, no. It's remembering what you were before the world told you who to be. It's the painful excavation of your forgotten self. And that process, it breaks you. Not because you're weak, but because the mask is. The mask was never built to survive the fire. You were. You've spent your life trying to fix what others broke in you without realizing. You kept the damage as an identity, the fear, the silence, the shame. You learned to wear it like skin. And when your soul whispers, there's more, you flinch. Because more means letting go of what has kept you safe. It means meeting the you who's been locked behind trauma's gates. That meeting isn't poetic. It isn't cinematic, it's hell, but in that hell, you find yourself. Jung wasn't offering you comfort, he was offering you reality. And in reality, freedom isn't given, it's earned. Not through compliance, but through collapse. Through the death of who you were told to be. Through suffering, not as punishment, but as purification. Are you willing to suffer for the truth? You've mastered survival. You've worn the smile like armor, performed politeness like a prayer. You've learned how to be needed but not known, present but not seen. You've bent your truth to fit into their comfort, trimmed your edges to keep the peace, and now you're exhausted, not from doing too much, but from becoming too little. There's a fatigue that lives beneath your skin, not physical but existential. A tiredness of pretending, of holding up a version of yourself you no longer recognize. You give and give, hoping someone will see you, love you, save you. But how can they save someone who doesn't show up as themselves? This is the quiet suffering, the invisible ache, the feeling of being alive and numb at the same time. You scroll through life looking for meaning in pixels, attention in applause, purpose in productivity, but none of it lands. Because your soul doesn't want stimulation, it wants resurrection. And to be resurrected, something has to die. The version of you that was built on fear, the people pleaser, the overachiever, the child who internalized unworthiness. You've built your life on foundations of avoidance, avoiding conflict, rejection, judgment, yourself. And every time you avoid, you abandon. You abandon the voice that says no. You abandon the fire that says enough. You abandon the truth that shakes when you speak it. You were taught that suffering is something to escape, but what if it's something to embrace? Not all pain is a wound. Some pain is a doorway, a passage back to your original self, the one before shame taught you to shrink, the one before silence became survival. You say you want peace, but do you want the war it takes to earn it? Real healing doesn't feel like self-care. It feels like grief, like rage, like shaking in your bed at 3 a.m. because your body is finally telling the truth. It feels like betrayal, because you're betraying the false self that betrayed you first. But beneath the ache is something holy, something fierce, something true, and that truth is you. What you're feeling isn't weakness. It's resistance, not against life, but against the lie you've been living. Deep within you, there's a war between the self you've created and the self you truly are. And that war is the shadow. Carl Jung called it the shadow self, the unconscious part of you that holds everything you reject. Not just your fears and flaws, but your forgotten fire, your suppressed instincts, your unspoken desires, the pieces of you that didn't feel safe to express, so you exiled them. And then you forgot you ever did. But the shadow doesn't stay quiet. It leaks out in jealousy, in overreactions, in sabotage. You think you're lazy, but maybe you're uninspired by the fake life you've built. You think you're anxious, but maybe you're just far from your truth. You think you're unlovable, but really, you've been loving everyone but yourself. So you wear the persona, Jung's word for the mask, the socially accepted self, the one you think they'll approve of, the one you use to get by. It helps you fit in, but slowly, it makes you disappear. Every smile you fake becomes a wound. Every "I'm fine" becomes a scar. And over time, the mask tightens until you can't breathe. The more you try to be good, the more you bury what's real. The more you seek validation, the more power you hand away. You become addicted to external approval because you've lost the internal compass. You lose the ability to say, "This is who I am," even if it costs me everything. And that's the secret they never told you. The cost of authenticity is suffering. You will lose people. You will lose comfort. You will lose illusions. But what you gain is yourself. That suffering is not the enemy. It is the initiation, the fire that burns the false to reveal the real, the darkness that shows you where you've been hiding, the silence that finally lets you hear your own voice. You must suffer, not because you're broken, but because you're buried. You've played the roles without knowing. You've danced through archetypes like costumes at a masquerade, each one a survival mechanism, not a soul. And now, the masks are cracking. There is the martyr, the one who bleeds to feel worthy. You give until it hurts, thinking that sacrifice will earn you love. But all it earns is emptiness. You weren't born to be a doormat for other people's neglect. Then there's the people pleaser, the performer, smiling through pain, nodding through disrespect, shrinking so others feel big. You learned early that being agreeable kept you safe. But safety became a cage, and now you don't know who you are outside their expectations. The persona bearer, the high-functioning ghost. They praise you for your discipline, your composure, your success. But they don't know you cry in the bathroom between meetings. They don't know your smile is stitched together with shame. They love the mask. They never met the soul beneath it, and lurking in the shadows is the psychic vampire, not always a person, sometimes a pattern, the habit that drains you, the relationship that feeds on your guilt, the voice in your head that whispers, "Don't speak, don't feel, don't need." It feeds on your silence, and you let it. These aren't just roles, they are rituals, recited daily, unconsciously, until they become identity. And each one pulls you further from the raw, untamed you. The you who doesn't ask for permission to exist. The you who doesn't beg for crumbs of love. Jung would say these archetypes live within all of us. They are not villains. They are wounded children wearing adult faces. But if you do not confront them, you become them. If you do not suffer through their unraveling, you remain possessed by their script. You are not the role you play. You are the actor who forgot they were acting. And now, it's time to remember. So, let me ask you something. Questions you've been too busy, too numb, too afraid to sit with. When was the last time you were truly alone with your truth? Not your timeline, not your goals, not your filters. Just you, raw, silent, unedited. What part of you did you bury just to be loved? Who did you become to survive your childhood? And is that version of you still living your life? How many of your yes answers were really no's? You were too scared to speak. How many smiles were stitched across your face to hide the scream? When did you stop trusting yourself? You keep chasing freedom, but whose dream are you living? Who are you trying to impress? And what would happen if you stopped? What if your suffering isn't a sign something's wrong, but a sign something is waking up? Sit with that. Not with fear, but with reverence. Because pain doesn't visit the numb. It visits the soul that is finally ready to feel again. Now ask yourself this, and mean it. Who am I when I stop trying to be who they need me to be? This is the moment the story turns, not with a scream, but with a silence so heavy it shatters the performance. This is where you stop begging for permission and start reclaiming your power, one quiet, terrifying truth at a time. The suffering brought you here. Good. Let it teach you. Let it cleanse you. The pain isn't the end. It's the threshold. You are standing at the edge of your false self, and the only way out is through. You don't need to be louder. You need to be real. You don't need to do more. You need to undo what was never yours. You don't need to be healed. You need to be whole. And wholeness includes the wound. Start small. Say no when you mean no. Say nothing when silence is sacred. Walk away without explaining. You owe no one your exhaustion. Let your anger rise, not to destroy, but to declare, I exist. Let your grief pour, not to drown you, but to wash away who you are not. Let your fear speak, but do not let it lead. This is individuation, the process Jung spoke of. Not self-improvement, not performance, but the fierce, holy act of becoming yourself, fragment by fragment, wound by wound. You will lose what was never meant to stay. You will be misunderstood. You will walk alone for a while. But that aloneness is sacred. It is where the false falls away, where your voice returns, where you stop being an echo and become a presence. Stop waiting to be chosen. Choose yourself. That is where freedom begins. You thought freedom would feel like flight, like rising into the sky, untouchable and light. But the truth is, freedom begins underground, in the dirt, in the dark, in the raw silence of who you really are. Carl Jung didn't promise transcendence through light. He promised it through integration, through descent, through the courage to turn toward what you fear and say, I'm ready now. Show me what I've hidden. Show me who I am. So if you are suffering, don't run, don't numb it. Don't label it as weakness. Sit with it, honor it. That ache inside you is your soul cracking the shell. It is the death of the mask and the birth of the real. No one else can walk this path for you. No one else can name your truth. But if something inside you is waking up, listen. That voice, the one you've been quieting for years, has been waiting for this moment. The moment you remember, suffering was never the end. It was the passage. Write this in the comments if you're ready to stop running. I choose to confront my shadow. Let the pain speak. Let the silence shape you. Let the truth finally breathe. In the next video, we'll go deeper into the silence that doesn't soothe you, but dismantles you. The silence that doesn't feel like peace, but like exposure, the kind that forces you to confront the echo chamber of your own soul. We'll explore the most dangerous form of suppression, becoming who they wanted instead of who you are. Because sometimes the greatest lie isn't spoken, it's lived. Subscribe if this message resonates with your inner voice. The descent has just begun.